Hi guys, this is Hirasaki. This story is all about what if Naruto casted Hiraishin as a combat tool. A few angry words from Neji lead to a great many changes. Hiashi-sama, Naruto bowed once more. I ask you to make a bargain with me. To be with the girl he loves, he makes a bet. The stakes? Only his future and his dream. Before we start, kindly like and subscribe to this channel and look over the description box for the author of this amazing storyline. Welcome aboard! Chapter 23, Road Trip. Daimyo, give me your necklace. Loud explosion tears apart several miles of countryside. Tsunade, cheerfully give you what? Daimyo, how about you do 7 million ryu of medical work? The two of them were sitting atop the Hokage monument watching the sunset. It was a little cold, so he had his arms wrapped around her. How long will you be away? She asked quietly. Erosenin says it might be anywhere from 2 weeks to 2 months, Naruto told her. 2 months? She sounded desolate. But that means you'll miss my birthday, and the new year. He nodded. I know, Hinata-chan, and I'm really sorry. But it's a mission, I can't not go. She sighed. I know, Naruto-kun, we have our duty. I just wish you didn't have to be away for so long. Well, maybe we'll get lucky and I'll be back soon. What is your mission? Or are you not allowed to tell me? Oh, I can tell you about it, Hinata-chan, he said breezily. It's not like it's anything special. We're just going to bring back some lady by the name of Tsunade. Tsunade? Hinata gasped. The Tsunade? Naruto looked a bit confused. I guess Erosenin just said something about him knowing her and that she had to come back with us so she could pay some bill. Naruto-kun, don't you know who she is? She is one of the Sannin, one of the legendary three. She was a teammate with Jiraiya and Orochimaru. Teammates? I guess that means this Tsunade is the same age as Erosenin. She must be really ancient. Naruto-kun, that's not nice. I'm just saying she's going to be really old. Please don't mention her age when you meet her, Naruto-kun, that's considered very rude. And please try to be respectful. Not only is she one of the Sannin, she's the world's top medic nin. I would love the chance to just meet her and ask her about medical jutsu. Naruto recalled the bomb she had given him at the preliminaries. You like healing people, don't you, Hinata-chan? She nodded a bit. I don't talk about it much. We Hyuga are supposed to be fearsome warriors. But the truth is, I much prefer healing to fighting. It would be a great honor just to meet the famous Tsunade. Hearing that, Naruto slowly smiled. Hinata-chan, I may end up missing your birthday, but I'm going to bring you the best present ever. Relaxing, she leaned back into his embrace. You don't need to get me anything, Naruto-kun. The only thing I want is for you to come back safe and sound. I definitely will, Hinata-chan, he assured her. And I'm getting you a really awesome gift too. For 6 weeks, Jiraiya and Naruto tramped across Fire Country trying to track down Tsunade. They followed rumors and reports of all sorts and ended up in casinos and gambling dens of all sizes and shapes. Usually, they were just a few days behind. They would arrive to hear how she had blown through another wad of cash and then just vanished. Though it was frustrating, these 6 weeks were not being wasted. As they traveled, Jiraiya would summon Fukasaku each morning to continue his taijutsu and physical training. In the afternoons, Jiraiya would take over. Naruto had wanted to bring the Hiraishin scroll with him to keep working on it. Jiraiya had immediately shot down that idea. The scroll was far too valuable to risk taking outside the village. So, while he did not study the Hiraishin, he did have some other interesting learning experiences. The very first city they stopped in was having a festival. Naruto looked about at all the games and stands and funny costumes. Say kid, Jiraiya spoke in a friendly tone. Why don't we split up for a short time? I'll do some checking at the local gambling dens and you can enjoy yourself at the festival. Okay, Naruto agreed. You got any money on you? I sure do. He pulled out a fat Gamakan and held it out. Oh ho! Jiraiya grinned. You're a little millionaire, aren't you? Listen kid, there are 3 prohibitions to being shinobi. 3 vices that can destroy a ninja, these being women, drink, and cold hard cash. Well, they don't really affect me. I'm too young to drink, Hinata is the only girl I'm interested in, and since I've spent my whole life saving up this money, I'm not really eager to spend it. Don't mock the importance of being frugal. The power of money is a fearsome thing and has ruined many a ninja. Even Tsunade is on the verge of self-destruction because of her inability to control herself. So let me help you out by taking charge of your money. But as he reached out to take Naruto's purse, the young ninja made it disappear. No way. The old man warned me not to give you any money. He said if I did, you'd make it disappear. He also told me that you're a millionaire thanks to your porn. Jiraiya looked offended. It's adult-themed literature, kid. My novels are works of art. Naruto rolled his eyes. Yeah, right. They're just dirty books. Anyway, the old man said that since you're my sensei, you should pay for everything during this trip. Naruto held out his hand. So why don't you give me some money to spend while I'm at the festival? Jiraiya shook his head. It was true that he was rich, but he had not always been so. He'd come from poverty, and a lifetime of habit made giving his money to someone, unless that someone was a beautiful woman, go completely against the grain. Kid, if I did that, it would be irresponsible of me. What sort of sensei would I be if I encouraged you to develop the destructive habit of wasting money? Naruto shrugged. Fine then, I'll just let the Hokage know you tried to take my purse and then sent me off alone without giving me any funds. Jiraiya frowned down at him. That's blackmail, kid. The old man said it was reminding you of your responsibilities as a sensei. Well, thanks a lot, old man. I can see you're already learning how to be a Hokage. Though it pained him to do so, Jiraiya took out his own purse. He pulled out 300 Ryu notes and handed them over. Just 300 Ryu? Naruto complained. That's plenty, an annoyed Jiraiya said. Now remember, kid, a responsible ninja does not fall prey to the vices of drink, women, and wild spending. If I learn you've done any of that, I'll be very disappointed. You can count on me, Erosenin. Late that evening, Naruto had gone looking for him as the festival wound down. He found his sensei passed out and smelling of liquor, while 2 scantily clad women were standing over him counting money as he snored. Naruto complained as he dragged an unconscious Jiraiya to their hotel. Well, at least I know what not to do. Show me. Jiraiya instructed. No problem. Naruto formed some hand signs. Kagebushin no Jutsu. A single clone appeared. He held out his right palm and began gathering chakra. Rasengan. Now concentrate on containing it. With his clone's help, he formed a swirl of intense chakra into the form of a ball writing in his hand. Watching, Jiraiya couldn't quite keep a small smirk from his lips. The kids actually got it down after just 3 months. You really are something, Naruto. He pointed to a tree. That one. Right. The clone disappeared in a puff of smoke. He raced toward the tree and slammed the Rasengan into it. The jutsu bored clean through and left a perfect hole behind. Naruto immediately turned around to look at his teacher. How was that? He asked excitedly. Jiraiya allowed himself to smile. It's official, kid, you've just mastered one of the Yandame's original jutsus. Yada. Naruto began doing his now patented victory dance. I am so awesome. Bunk. Naruto suddenly found himself on the ground with a lump forming on the top of his head. Ow. He glared up at his teacher. What was that for? Don't get cocky, kid. You did a good job, but you're still no Yandame. It's not like you invented that jutsu, and compared to the Hiraishin this is child's play. Naruto got up. Oh yeah? Well, I'll figure out the Hiraishin and someday I'll create my very own jutsus. I'll be an even greater ninja than the Yondaime was. Maybe you will, kid, I wouldn't bet against you. You better than the Yondaime? He snorted. I'll believe that when I see it. Naruto got a sulky look. Now come on kid, I'll buy you some ramen to celebrate your achievement. They were in the northern part of Fire Country when the first big snowfall hit. Despite the cold, Naruto enjoyed walking along the road looking at all the virgin snow surrounding them. In a normal winter it might only snow a few inches back in the village. Now there was a foot or more surrounding them. He was so amazed and so entranced that he was caught completely by surprise when a snowball hit him right in the ear and sent him sprawling. Jiraiya was doubled over laughing. Gotcha kid. Hey, what was that? Naruto demanded angrily. Jiraiya began making another snowball. What? You've never been in a snowball fight before? Naruto gave Jiraiya a smile he hadn't ever seen from the blonde. Irika would have recognized it instantly and taken cover. You want a snowball fight? You got one arrow senin. He ran through some hand signs. Kagebushin no jutsu. There was a huge puff of smoke. When it cleared, Jiraiya found himself surrounded by 200 Narutos, all of them busily making snowballs. It suddenly occurred to him that this might have been a bad idea. Now wait a minute. Get him! 200 voices shouted just before Jiraiya found himself plowed under a small flurry of compressed snow. After 6 long weeks of running all over Fire Country, they had come to a small resort by some natural hot springs. The two of them were enjoying the steamy water. Are you sure you're not a pedophile? Quiet kid. Jiraiya barked. Naruto leaned back in his end of the spring. He had never been allowed in the bathhouse back in Konoha. He had to admit, the hot water felt good. Especially given all his sore muscles from constant travel and training. How much longer are we going to be out here? Jiraiya grinned. Relax kid, we're going to find her in exactly 2 days' time. How can you say that? Everywhere we've gone we've missed her. Ah, but now we aren't following leads. I know exactly where she'll be in 2 days. Jiraiya sounded smug. She'll be in the city of Telmet. How can you be so sure? Simple, the mega casino there is hosting its annual poker tournament. It has a 500,000 Ryu grand prize and is open to anyone who can pay the entrance fee. Poker is Tsunade's favorite game, and there's no chance she'll miss this tournament. She'll definitely be there, but we have to find her quick. She'll lose immediately and might decide to leave. Well, maybe she'll get on a winning streak and we'll have more time to find her. Jiraiya laughed. Not her. She's addicted to gambling but has the worst luck at it. She's so bad she's actually earned the nickname, the legendary sucker. If she's so bad, why does she keep gambling? We all have our weaknesses, kid. Tsunade has issues. Gambling is her way of dealing with things. You mean like you getting drunk and trying to look at naked girls? That's not a weakness, kid, that's a part of absolutely vital research. Yeah right, Naruto said. If you were so sure she'd end up in Telmet, why have we been chasing her all this time? When the Fire Lord and the Hokage say, go you go. You don't tell them you'll leave in 6 weeks when it'll be easier for you. Besides, I had some hopes of actually finding her before this. Oh well, Naruto tried to relax. At least now the hard part is over. Jiraiya laughed so loud and so long Naruto wound up wondering just what was so funny. At that same moment in one of the many game rooms of Telmet's mega casino, the third window stopped and there was a third 7. Coins began spilling out of the slot machine. That's amazing. Shizen said happily. First you hit big at roulette, then you clean up at the craps table, and now you just got a jackpot at slots. Your luck is definitely in. Oink! Said their pet pig Tauntaun. Despite the clinking of the coins and the merry sound from the crowd cheering her good luck, Tsunade did not feel happy. I have a bad feeling about this. Chapter 24, Good Gambling Instincts. Wow, Naruto said. He was looking at Telmet's mega casino. It had to be more than a mile long. It was a series of vastly different buildings, all connected by corridors and walkways. There were arches, pyramids, towers, and even a miniature castle. All of it surrounded by blinking neon lights. It is pretty impressive, kid, Jiraiya agreed. There are hundreds of gaming rooms with every sort of game of chance. There are dozens of restaurants, a shopping center, a movie theater, several fine hotels, and even a bathhouse. He began to giggle at an old memory. The two of them were part of a throng besieging the main entrances. Once they actually made it inside the building, they joined one of about 20 lines that snaked toward a long series of tables backed up by hundreds of armed guards. Alas, not even an all-knowing toad sage was allowed to cut in line. So, after 40 minutes, they came to a table with a bored-looking casino employee hunched over a series of forms. After getting their names and some other information, the clerk explained the rules. The entrance fee is 1,000 ryu, payable in cash only. Once you enter the main hall, you'll be seated at a table with 4 other players and a dealer. Each player receives 500 chips and you play until one player has all of them. The tournament lasts until we have a final winner. Oh, and since you're ninja, you should also know any use of chakra results in immediate disqualification. Any questions? Jiraiya shook his head. Sounds fine. He pulled out a 1,000 ryu note. What about you? The clerk looked at Naruto. My apprentice won't be playing, he'll just be watching me. The casino employee shook his head. Sorry, but players only are allowed beyond this point. That's okay, Hiraishin, I'll just find something to do. I'm afraid that won't work, kid, we have to find her as quick as possible. I'm going to need your eyes. Though it pained him to do so, he pulled out another 1,000 ryu. I am so filing an expense report when I get back. The clerk counted out the money and then handed them a pair of temporary IDs and 2 sets of 500 chips. Enjoy the tournament. Next. They walked past the tabled and guards into a massive hall filled with literally hundreds of small round tables and wooden chairs. Naruto looked at his teacher feeling a bit panicked. He didn't care about losing, he just didn't want to be made a fool of. Hiraishin, what am I supposed to do? I've never even played before. So? Listen, kid, all you have to do is sit down at a table, lose and then start looking for Tsunade. But I don't know what I'm doing. Fine, listen up. Jiraiya spent 5 minutes going over the basics. Naruto tried to get it all down. So does a flush beat a straight? Don't worry about it, you won't be playing long enough for it to matter. At the table Naruto was led to, there were 3 other players. Their greetings were simple, but polite. It was easy enough for him to pick up on the fact they were surprised to get a look at him. Naruto craned his neck to look at all the players at the other nearby tables. Not surprisingly, Tsunade was not among them. He was now forced to worry about actually playing. Jiraiya had explained that he had to play until his chips were gone or else he would draw too much attention to himself. Naruto didn't care about losing, he just didn't want to embarrass himself. You look pretty nervous, one of the players said to him. This your first time at a tournament? Yeah, Naruto said. The man's head bobbed up and down a bit. Well, it's just a game. Nothing to be nervous about. Naruto nodded. Can I ask you something? Sure, what? Does a flush beat a straight? The man hesitated. You're kidding, right? Naruto shook his head. All 3 of the players shared an amused look. What are you even doing here if you don't know something like that? Hell of a waste of ryu. Another player said. Naruto was not about to share the fact he was on a mission with 3 civilians. I didn't pay, my teacher did. Your teacher must be pretty damn rich if he can afford to throw away 1,000 Rie like that. He is pretty rich, Naruto said. He writes dirty books. The conversation pretty much died there, and so Naruto just sat. He was impatient to start so he could begin finding Tsunade. The sooner that was done, the sooner he could go home and see Hinata again. He was really missing her and wanting to hear her sweet voice again. After about a 15-minute wait, the 5th player approached their table. Seeing her, Naruto's eyes expanded. He immediately jumped out of his chair and pointed at her. You! His shout was so loud everyone around them turned to look. Tsunade came to sudden halt and stared at the blonde kid. From his hitai, his chunin vest, and his weapon pouches it was obvious he was a ninja. He even looked sort of familiar, though she was sure she'd never met him before. Do I know you, Gaki? She suddenly looked just a little nervous. I don't owe you money, do I? No, I've come here with my sensei Arrow, Jiraiya, to bring you back to Konoha. The look on her face went from annoyed to openly hostile. Oh really? Well, let me tell you something, brat, I have no intention of going back to that damn village. Ever. Naruto took on a stubborn expression and crossed his arms over his chest. You don't have a choice, it's an order from the Hokage. The old man wants me to come back to the village, huh? Why? Does he miss my cheerful attitude? Naruto shook his head. The Fire Lord wants to talk to you about paying off some bill. The Fire Lord? That was actually a bit serious. She knew she could get around the old man. Sarutobi understood how much she'd lost and her reasons for leaving Konoha. He had let her go. But the Fire Lord might just force him to declare her a missing nin if she refused to meet with him. Like that matters. Naruto looked at her suspiciously. Say, I thought we weren't allowed to use jutsus here. What are you talking about? I'm not using a jutsu. Oh, come on. You must be using a henge. You look like you're in your 20s when I know you're really, really, really old. She stared at him as her left eye began to twitch violently. What was that? Annoyed, Naruto repeated himself. I said you're really, really. Before he could finish, Tsunade grabbed him by the front of his chunin vest and yanked him up off his feet. She brought him nose to nose with her and let him feel just a little of her killer intent. Listen, you annoying brat, she whispered. The only reason I don't throw you through a wall right now is that I'd get ejected. How I look is none of your business, got it? Naruto gave her a sickly smile. Alright. She promptly let go of him. Geez, Bachan, are you always in such a bad mood? Her left eye began twitching again and her right hand formed a fist on its own. Did you just call me, Grandma? If he'd had any sense at all, he'd have denied it and claimed she was hearing things. That's right, I think it fits you. She got her twitching under control and reminded herself about how much she'd looked forward to this tournament. Brat, if we were anywhere else. She shook her head in wonder. Calling me that to my face, I have put men in critical condition for less than that. You're either very, very brave or very, very stupid. She was surprised when her words actually made him smile. I know plenty of people who think both. And Jiraiya actually chose you for a student? Did he lose a bet or something? Naruto pouted and crossed his arms over his chest. Hey! Ero-sennin was lucky I agreed to be his apprentice. I'm Uzumaki Naruto, and I'm going to be Hokage one day. Uzumaki Naruto? Well, that explains why I thought he looked familiar. Except for the scars on his cheeks, he's a spitting image of Minato. You want to be Hokage one day? That's right. Well, at least I have my answer now. If you want to be Hokage, that means you're a complete idiot. Hey! Listen up, brat, I've known all 4 of the Hokages. Except for my old teacher, they all died tragic deaths. And for what? To protect a village full of stupid ignorant people who were never worthy of such sacrifice. Doesn't sound like a job I'd want. Only a fool would aspire to be Hokage. Don't make fun of me. And don't make fun of my one and only ambition. To be Hokage is my dream. Just for a moment, just for a fleeting second. It seemed to her that Nawaki and Dan were alive again and standing before her. She shut her eyes and shook her head, dispelling the image. A man dressed in a casino uniform walked up to their table. My name is Fuji, and I will be your dealer. It is noon and we will begin momentarily. Tsunade opened her eyes and smiled a bit at the annoying boy. Come on, brat, I'll show you how to play some real poker. Good, since I've never played before. You've never played before? Tsunade asked, not believing it. Then what are you doing here? Naruto shrugged. The only way to get in here to look for you was to join the tournament. Tsunade got a predatory smile. Oh really? Well, in that case, why don't we have a little side bet? Do you have any money? Naruto had a sense of déjà vu as he pulled Gamakan out again. What have you got in mind, Bachan? Simple, we bet on who stays in the game the longest. Well, that's really not fair. I've never played before, what chance would I have? Tsunade nodded. The odds are pretty long against you, I'll admit, so I'll make the stakes worth your while. From beneath her clothing, she pulled out her necklace. This is the Shodai's necklace, I'll bet it against your money. Money. No thanks, I don't wear jewelry. She could feel her eye twitching again. Listen, you idiot, there are only 2 crystals like this in the whole world. With this necklace you could buy a pair of gold mines and the mountains on top of them. So what do you say, brat? You got the guts to make this bet with me? Naruto thought about it carefully, and slowly nodded. Alright, Bachan, you're on. But I don't want the necklace. There's something else I want instead. Jiraiya was a good poker player. Certainly, he was far better at it than Tsunade, not that that was saying much. He was good enough to outlast 3 other players at his table. The last player was taken by surprise when Jiraiya raised to the limit, only to show he had nothing but a pair of 4s in his hand. Well, that's it for me, he said cheerfully as he got up from the table. Now he could start looking for Tsunade. He began wandering through the vast hall, keeping a sharp eye out. Some of the tables were empty now. Most still had 2 or 3 players going at it, a few had drawn small crowds. His eyes drifted over to a table surrounded by one such crowd. He couldn't see the table itself or the players. He decided to go over and check on it. You're playing well, Shizen said happily. Your luck must still be in. Oink! Taunton put in. Tsunade looked up from her cards just long enough to give her apprentice a look of exasperation. Could you at least try and not sound surprised? Tsunade! Long time no see. Jiraiya stepped out into the front of his small crowd. I was hoping to find you here. So, I've heard. Hey Arrow Sennin. It was only with Naruto's greeting that Jiraiya noticed who the other player at the table was. Kid, what are you doing? Playing poker, Naruto answered as though it were obvious. Tell me something, you old pervert, Tsunade asked. Is this really the first time this brat has ever played? Jiraiya nodded. The kid didn't even know the rules until I told them to him. I take it he's done pretty good. He's outlasted 3 other players. Jiraiya looked pleased. He can be very surprising. Tsunade refocused her attention on her opponent. I'll admit it, brat, you've done pretty well up until now. But now it's just you and me, and there's no way I'll lose to you. Bring it on, old lady. The dealer had finished shuffling the deck and looked to Naruto. It is your turn to choose the game. 5 card draw, Naruto answered automatically. That was the simplest version of the game and he liked not having to try and remember any new rules. The dealer nodded and held the cards out to Tsunade. She took a third of the deck from the top and placed it on the table. The deck cut. The dealer placed the bottom portion on top of the ones on the table. He then quickly dealt out 5 cards to each player. Tsunade looked at her cards with a carefully blank expression on. Whatever her luck, she was a veteran card player, not to mention a ninja. She was practiced in hiding her thoughts. The pile of chips in front of her was slightly larger than the brat's. The Gaki really had been lucky so far. He'd gotten a few really good hands and hit big. That had been enough to let him ride out the majority of poor hands he'd gotten. But she was sure she would be able to wear him down. Then again, looking at what she held, she just might be able to end it quick. That was if her luck was still in. She tossed 20 of the white plastic chips in the middle of the table. 20 to start, brat. Naruto tossed in 20 as well. Call. Cards? The dealer asked. I'll take one. Tsunade discarded 1 card and picked up a replacement. 2, Naruto said. Looking at her new card, she wanted to burst out laughing but steeled her features. She'd gotten a 10 of clubs to complete her hand. Ha! I guess my luck is still in. This is it, you annoying brat. I'll tell you what, Naruto, I'm feeling kind of tired. What do you say we settle everything on one hand? She asked him in a too sweet voice. Naruto glanced down at his cards and shrugged. Okay, Bachan, if that's what you want. They both pushed all of their chips into a huge pile. Watching this, Jiraiya groaned. You just got completely suckered, kid. But I suppose I can't really blame you, seeing as how new you are to this. And looking directly into those magnificent breasts can make any man lose his concentration. With all the chips now in the middle of the table, Tsunade finally allowed herself a smile. You didn't do too bad, brat, but you still lost. She put her cards on the table. Queen high straight, she said happily. Beat that. Would a flush be enough to beat that? She laughed. It sure would, but have you actually got one? As a matter of fact, he put his cards down. I do. He had garbage. The highest card in his hand was a 10. But they were all hearts. He had the winning hand. Shizun let out a depressed sigh. I guess the streak is over. Oink, Taunton agreed sadly. Jiraiya proudly stood behind his student. Kid, you've got some great gambling instincts. Thanks, Erosenin. Naruto looked at Tsunade, who was still just sitting there looking shell-shocked. I won, Bachan, will you honor our bet? Her hanging jaw finally snapped shut. I've never gone back on a bet in my life. Of course, I'll honor it. What bet? Shizun and Jiraiya said simultaneously. I bet the Gaki that he would lose before me. If I'd won, he'd have given me his purse. She let out a bitter laugh. Since I lost, I agreed to go back to Konoha with him and take on his girlfriend as an apprentice. We're finally going back to the village? Shizun asked excitedly. Tsunade gave a curt nod. Jiraiya just gave Naruto a look of mixed pride and amusement. Not bad, kid, not bad at all. Naruto had a huge smile and was rubbing the back of his head. Tsunade finally pushed back from the table. I need a whole lot of drinks. Come on, you old pervert, I'll let you pay. As Tsunade and the others left the table, 2 men in black trench coats and sunglasses watched. One turned to the other and spoke in a low whisper. We can take her on the way back to her room. The second man shook his head slightly. Our master wants this done quietly and without witnesses. Now that we've finally found her, we won't lose her again. We'll wait until she's on the road. The first man nodded. They would fulfill their master's orders and bring him the Shodai's necklace. Chapter 25, A Gift for Hinata. Hiashi was breathing heavily and held up a hand signaling for a halt. Let us take a short break, Hinata. She nodded and deactivated her Byakugan. Hi, father. You know I am quite pleased with you, Hinata. Since achieving the rank of Chunin you have been working even harder. I suspect one day you will make a fine leader for this clan. Arigato Tusan, I want to be a great clan head as you have been. She replied. But I also want to become strong so that I can be a fitting wife for the Hokage. This was not the first time she had spoken such thoughts. All the same he shook his head slightly. The devotion you show for this boy speaks well of your loyalty, Hinata, but poorly of your judgment. Naruto will be Hokage one day. She said it with the same certainty that she might have said the sun would rise tomorrow. Hinata, her father spoke patiently. There is no possibility that boy will succeed in learning the Hiraishin and even less chance he will be Hokage. The sooner you accept that the better. You don't know him, father. I truly believe that he can do anything he sets his mind to. Hiashi looked at his daughter in mild wonder. Just where had this stubbornness and determination come from? Had it developed due to recent events? Or had it always been there? Like a seed lying in the soil waiting for a chance to grow. His daughter had always been weak-minded and easily intimidated. But when it came to the subject of that boy, she refused to yield an inch. Believe that if you wish, daughter, it will alter nothing. Yes, father. Very well, let us have tea. Hiashi looked over to the person waiting on them. You may serve us now. Neji stalked out with a tray holding a small kettle and 2 cups. As he poured them their tea he spoke in a quiet and barely restrained voice. Forgive me, Hiashi-sama, but is this truly a duty for one who is a Chunin? Hinata requested you be given this duty. Hiashi replied simply. The cadet branch serves the needs of the main branch. Hinata smiled as she sipped her tea. Besides, cousin, I think you look cute in your little pink kimono. Shizen and Naruto had long since gone off to bed. Jiraiya and Tsunade were sitting at one of the mega casino's brightly lit bars drinking sake and talking. Not too surprisingly, the main topic of conversation was Naruto. He actually bet his future on learning the Hiraishin? The kid sure did. Tsunade laughed and took a sip from her current bottle. Well, I knew the kid was an idiot, I wouldn't have guessed how much of one. Jiraiya grinned. He was still able to outsmart you though. He didn't outsmart me, the brat just got lucky. Well, you'd certainly be an expert on that subject. Do you know I actually offered to bet him the Shodai's necklace? He actually turned it down and asked me to make his girlfriend my apprentice instead. I'm not surprised, the boy's in love. You remember what that's like, don't you? She set down her bottle and sat there quietly for a moment. Being young and in love? Yes, I can remember. She took a long drink. Tell me something, you old fraud, why have you taken him on as an apprentice? You know why, he answered softly. He looked about to make sure no one was sitting too close. His father was like a son to me, I owed it to Minato. Minato. Bullshit, she said and tipped her empty bottle over. That's been true since the day Minato died. If that were the reason, you wouldn't have waited all this time. Jiraiya frowned at her. I ran away, something else you know about. She grunted. So, what changed? Let's just say I was reminded of just what I owed. She grinned. Well, you haven't done a very good job, have you? He's doomed to become a Hyuga servant on his 16th birthday. That was the kid's idea. Believe me, I tried talking him out of it. But it's the only way for him to be with his girl and he wouldn't change his mind. Anyway, I'm not so sure he'll lose his bet. You really think that little brat can learn the Hiraishin? Like I've already said, he can be surprising. The following day the 4 of them were finally headed back to Konoha. So Bachan, is it true you can smash boulders with just your fist? Tsunade's left eye began to twitch. Stop calling me that, you annoying brat. Well, so is it true? Naruto asked again. Annoyed, Tsunade focused some chakra into her fist and promptly smashed a tree. That answer your question? Pretty good for an old lady. Tsunade came to an immediate halt. Oh no, Shizen said. Jiraiya just sighed. Look, you annoying brat, stop calling me that. Naruto grinned. But why, grandma, it really seems to fit you. I mean, don't you think it's kind of dishonest going around looking the way you do? I mean, since you're really, really, really old. Jiraiya could see Tsunade was starting to get really angry. Kid, didn't the old man and I warn you about being too free with your thoughts? Anyway, Tsunade's not that old, she's the same age as me. Naruto looked at his teacher. I know, it proves my point. Hey! Jiraiya snapped. Fortunately, Naruto was spared having to face the anger of not one but two Sannin when a pair of ninja in black robes and sunglasses appeared on the rod just ahead of them. Greetings, Lady Tsunade, one of them said. Lord Taka sends his regards. Lord Taka and the Isle of Exchange. Jiraiya muttered. This should be interesting. Who is this Taka and what's this Isle of Exchange? Naruto asked. Lord Taka rules the Isle of Exchange, or the Isle of Tariki, about 1,200 miles off the coast. It's basically his own private little kingdom. Tsunade smiled fondly. It has some beautiful hotels and casinos. Jiraiya nodded. Yeah, along with a whole lot of banks and his very own private police force of loyal ninja and a modern navy. So, he's a casino owner and banker? Naruto asked. In part. Jiraiya replied. What he mostly is a middleman. He arranges for exchanges or sale of goods for a commission and in return guarantees security and privacy. He sounds like a criminal. Naruto commented. Oh, he is. Jiraiya confirmed. But he is also lord over all he surveys and a very powerful businessman. Anyway, Tsunade finally said. What does Lord Taka want? The ninja who had originally spoken produced a contract. Lord Taka respectfully wishes to remind you of the markers you took out the last time you were on the isle. Your markers are worth over 1,000,000 ryu. Jiraiya turned to glare at his former teammate. You owe another 1,000,000 ryu? You owed 8 million? Tsunade looked uncomfortable. These things just sort of happen. Jiraiya shook his head. The Fire Lord has agreed to take on the debt Tsunade has incurred. I am sure he would be willing to pay this debt off as well. Jiraiya was surprised when the man shook his head. Lord Taka is aware of the daimyos buying up the debts. My lord has no interest in applying to the daimyo for payment. Oh really? Tsunade's tone was friendly, but the smile she produced looked malevolent. And what exactly is Lord Taka interested in? He insists on receiving the Shodai's necklace in compensation of your debt. We were sent out to make certain the necklace was not given to the Fire Lord instead. No one is getting this necklace. Tsunade informed them. Not the daimyo and not Lord Taka. That is unfortunate, the man said and nodded to the other. The ninja ran through some hand signs. There was a flash of light. Jiraiya, Tsunade, Shizune, and even Tonton was frozen in place. Caught by a genjutsu that seemed to make time stop. The first ninja nodded pleased and walked over to the motionless Tsunade to relieve her of her necklace. Lord Taka will be very happy about this. Do we still kill everyone? The second ninja asked. Those are Lord Taka's orders. But won't the Hokage and the Fire Lord be angry that we killed the last two Sannin? He thought nothing of killing a pair of ordinary ninja. The first ninja shrugged. That's only if they figure out who was responsible. By the time the bodies are found, there won't be any evidence connecting us. And with all the enemies these two have made, no one will suspect our lord. He was just about to remove the necklace when he heard a growl. One moment Naruto was standing in a road with the others, the next he was alone and knee-deep in a sewer. What the hell? He looked about wondering what had happened. He noticed he was in front of some huge cage with a single seal placed on it. From the darkness behind the cage, he heard a foul laugh. So, after all this time, I finally meet my jailer. How very disappointing. A cruel and taunting voice spoke from somewhere within the cage. Who's there? Naruto took a couple steps back and pulled out a kunai. In answer, two massive orange eyes opened and a smile made of long rows of sharp teeth appeared before him. Take a wild guess. Naruto gulped. You're the Kyuubi. I am. And you are the miserable child who holds me imprisoned. Know this, child, I am the immortal and invincible Kyuubi, and I will not remain a prisoner indefinitely. I don't get it, you're stuck in my belly. How can we be talking like this? Where is this place? This is your mind, the setting is of your own making. The fox chuckled a bit. In your case, your mind really is a sewer. Well, why am I here now? You were caught in a genjutsu and are about to be murdered. I cannot allow that. If you die, I die. Naruto smiled and relaxed a bit. Oh yeah? Well, in that case, how about you give me some of your chakra? We can call it compensation for all the misery I've had to endure because of you. I will give you some of my chakra and free you from the genjutsu. From behind the bars, red chakra suddenly flowed out and surrounded him. We will talk again. Naruto was back on the road. Jiraiya, Shizune, and Tsunade were all frozen in place. The two black-robed ninja were standing near Bachan. Looking at them, he let out a growl and began casting a jutsu. Kagebushin no Jutsu. There was a huge puff of smoke and 50 very angry Narutos appeared. When Tsunade snapped out of it, she was very surprised to see the two enemy ninja tied up to a tree and looking as though they'd been beaten to a pulp. What the hell? She noticed that Jiraiya and Shizune also seemed to be disoriented. Well, it's about time, an annoyed Naruto spoke up. You three have been standing there frozen for an hour. He looked at his teacher. Ero-sennin, I want you to teach me how to break a genjutsu. If I'd known that, maybe I wouldn't have had to waste a whole hour just standing around. Brat, just what the hell happened here? Tsunade demanded. Naruto explained, leaving out the little detail of having met the Kyuubi. Hearing it, Tsunade clutched at her necklace to make sure it really was still there. She found it hard to believe that she'd almost been killed. But with the proof tied up to a tree, she couldn't really deny it. She shook her head and smiled. All right, I have to admit, you're pretty interesting, brat. Thanks, Bachan. A few days later, at the Hyuga Estates. For the second time, Naruto arrived at the Hyuga Estates with one of the Sannin in tow. Hiashi had greeted Tsunade with a deep bow and with all possible honor. Hinata had also bowed and was staring up awestruck at the legendary Kunoichi. Let me make certain I understand this, Lady Tsunade. You wish to take my daughter Hinata on as an apprentice due to a bet you made with Naruto? Hiashi asked slowly. Feeling a bit embarrassed, Tsunade nonetheless nodded. That's right, she smiled down at Hinata. I offered him the Shodai's necklace. Lucky for me, he values your happiness more than he does a piece of jewelry worth millions. Hinata shifted her attention from Tsunade to Naruto. Did you really, Naruto-kun? Feeling self-conscious, he smiled and rubbed the back of her head. Well, I did say that I would get you a really good birthday present. Seeing her smile made his heart beat faster. She went over to him and glomped on with all of her might. Arigato, Naruto-kun. You really are the best boyfriend ever. Seeing his daughter behaving so right in front of him, Hiashi was very surprised, as well as uncomfortable. But so long as Tsunade did not seem upset, he would keep his peace. You honor both my daughter and my clan by this generous offer. Hinata will of course accept. Tsunade nodded and smiled at the two youngsters. You really are interesting, brat. Chapter 26, The Next Step. After a rather short time, the doors to the conference room opened. The fire daimyo was the first to exit. He looked rather pale and seemed to be shaking just a bit. He lacked his usual slow and stately gait. He left without a word and in a walk that was just barely less than a run. The next ones out of the room were an upset-looking Sarutobi and a rather sulky Tsunade. She was looking like a child who had been caught doing something. Did you have to smash the conference table? Sarutobi was obviously upset. Tsunade tried to look indifferent. He threatened to take my necklace. Only as a way to guarantee that you remain here to fulfill your agreement. I am the granddaughter of the Shodai Hokage, my word should be more than enough. Well, perhaps it would be, had you not spent the last 13 years acquiring and then avoiding your debts. The Hokage said dryly. In any case, Tsunade, I expect you to live up to your end of the agreement. I know, she said miserably. You'll stay in the village for at least the next 7 years, performing whatever assignments are required of you. And you are not to gamble or run up any new debts. I know, she said irritably. I'm trapped here for the next 7 years, in this damn village. Sarutobi looked at her and felt a small bit of sympathy. He knew just how much she had lost and the reasons behind her attitudes. Still, he had some hope that now that she was back in the village, she might rediscover the love she'd once had for Konoha. It won't all be bad, Tsunade. I'm giving you full charge of our medical program. You'll finally have the chance to create a corps of medic neens, and all of them trained to your specifications. She looked at him suspiciously. Are you serious, old man? You were the one who killed the idea of a medical corps. He shook his head wearily. I always thought it a fine idea, Tsunade, but at the time we were at war. We did not have the time or resources to put your idea into practice then. Things are different now. She halted and looked at him. If I do this, I do it my way. I want to make all the decisions about who enters the program and what they are taught. Of course, Sarutobi gave her a fatherly grin. There is no one else I would trust with this. Well, maybe it won't be a complete waste of time. She paused a bit. Tell me something, old man, what do you think of that brat, Uzumaki Naruto? I think Naruto has the potential to be the very best. Despite everything he has had to endure, he remains loyal to this village and seeks only to protect it and thereby earn the respect of the villagers. He looked at his student curiously. What do you think of him? I think he's a loud-mouthed brat who doesn't know when to shut up. I see. But, her lips twitched into a tiny little grin. I have to admit he's worth keeping an eye on, though if he doesn't stop calling me Bachan, I may have to kill him. Jiraiya was the last one to exit the conference room. He was scribbling furiously into his notebook. The enraged Tsunade leapt to her feet, her magnificent breasts jiggling beneath her too small shirt. She brought her fist down and smashed the oak table to kindling with a single blow. No one takes what is mine. Do you understand that? The Smoke Lord could only nod in weak submission, awed and humbled by the murderous fury and stunning beauty of Tsunade. Jiraiya began to giggle. This would make another great scene for his book, The Tale of the Gallant Naruto. Here you go, Naruto, just as I promised. Ebisu handed him a scroll. Yada! Naruto grabbed it and began to dance about. Thanks, Ebisu-sensei. You're very welcome, Naruto. I would normally be surprised to have someone learn all the jutsus on that fist scroll so quickly, but after training you I'm actually not surprised at all. You really are quite impressive. Naruto grinned happily at the compliment. Ah, thanks Ebisu-sensei, that's really nice of you to say. So, are these more wind jutsu? Naruto was a bit disappointed when Ebisu shook his head. No, all the wind jutsu I had available were in that first scroll I gave you. These are more general use jutsu. They may not be as impressive, but they'll prove valuable, I assure you. Despite wishing they were Winjutsus, Naruto still nodded gratefully. He would never ever be ungrateful for anything that increased his arsenal. Thanks again, sensei, I really appreciate it. You're welcome, Naruto, and remember that if you ever need help, my door is always open. Tsunade smiled evilly. Well, this should be fun. Now then, as I've told you, since I lost that bet to the brat, I'll be taking you on as my apprentice. However, don't think for 1 second that means I'll be taking it easy on you. Hi, Tsunade-sensei, Hinata was feeling a bit nervous. Why do I have a bad feeling about this? When I'm done with you, not only will you be a top medic nin, you will also be a fearsome kunoichi ready to deal with anything. They were alone in training ground 9. Tsunade had lined up several soccer-size balls in front of her. Now, since I don't plan to take it easy on you, I need to see if you have the necessary commitment and toughness to survive my training. Survive? Tsunade's smile expanded. That's right, my training methods are a bit extreme and not for the faint of heart. If you have any doubts, you let me know them right now. Despite her concern, Hinata shook her head. I want to become a great medic nin like you, Tsunade-sensei. Glad to hear it. Now then, for our very first exercise, I will kick these balls at you and you must avoid them. Hinata nodded. That wouldn't be too hard for a trained ninja. And just so you know, they're filled with explosives. What? Tsunade kicked one of the balls with all her might and sent it rocketing towards Hinata's chest. She quickly leapt to the right, just dodging it. When it struck the ground behind her, it exploded with the force of about 10 explosive notes. Hinata felt her heart pounding as she stared at the smoking crater. Had the ball struck her, she would certainly have been killed. What have I gotten myself into? Hinata! Tsunade shouted. Pay attention. We've only just started. With that, she kicked another ball and sent it zooming for her face. That evening, Hinata arrived at his home as usual. Naruto answered the door ready to welcome her with his usual greeting when the not always observant Naruto noticed something. Hinata-chan? Why do you smell like smoke? And why are your clothes singed? She gave him a weary smile. Oh, that's nothing, Naruto-kun. I just had my first day's training with Tsunade-sensei. Really? You're lucky, Hinata-chan. And despite the day's horrors, Hinata nodded. I know I am. To train under the legendary Tsunade is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. Even if I am scared for my life. Naruto nodded. Yeah, and I'll bet Bachan is really easy to work with, not like Fukasaku-sensei or Arosenin. Hinata just stared mutely. What? He asked. A couple weeks later. Jiraiya entered the Hokage's office. You needed to see me, old man? Sarutobi nodded. Jiraiya, how has Naruto been progressing? Not too bad. Along with my instruction in Fukasaku's, he's also been studying a jutsu scroll from Ebisu. He's actually learned the Shunshin completely on his own. That's very impressive. And how has his progress on the Hiraishin gone? Well, that's not going so good. Jiraiya sighed. And of course, that's the one area where I can't really help him. I see, Sarutobi said. That is a shame, but as you point out, there's nothing we can do about it. But the Hiraishin aside, you'd say his progress has been good? Yeah. Good enough for him to take the next step? Jiraiya grinned. Has something special come up? Here, Sarutobi handed over a message. I think this would be perfect. Jiraiya read the message and laughed. Another Supai sighting, huh? Are you trying to teach the kid patience or how to chase wild geese? Neither. I am hoping to teach him to carry out a mission to the best of his ability, even when there is little hope of success. Well, this certainly qualifies. How long has it been? 6 years? 7? 8 years, Sarutobi replied with a slight annoyance. Nevertheless, we have to try. Since you agree he is ready for this, why don't you have him report here and I'll explain things to him. Naruto had the scroll Ebisu had given him and was looking over the first jutsu on it, the Shunshin. He had mastered it in a little more than a week. Normally he would have proceeded on to the next jutsu. But there was something about this jutsu that was bothering him. Most of the symbols on it also appeared on the Hiraishin scroll. But there was something different. Kid, Jiraiya entered the house without bothering to knock or announce himself. You, me, the tower, now. Naruto looked up and rolled up his scroll. You know Erosenin, most people would knock before coming into someone's home. Well kid, most people don't when they're the ones who own the house. Now let's go. Naruto grumbled a bit but got moving. Hey Erosenin, I've got a question for you. What is it kid? I was just thinking, since I've learned the Shunshin I've noticed that most of the symbols used on it appear in the Hiraishin. So, I guess that means the Hiraishin is just a super-powered version of a Shunshin, right? Well, yes and no. Ah come on, what do you mean yes and no? I mean either it is or it isn't. Jiraiya sent his blonde protege an annoyed look. Well kid, both jutsus, along with the substitution jutsu, allow you to travel through space. So, in that way they can be considered related. In the same sort of way, a house cat and a mountain lion are. Now technically they are both cats, but one look will tell you they are completely different animals. Okay, then what's the difference? Well kid, there are two main differences. The first being the use of matter for transport. Ha! Jiraiya took a look at Naruto's confused expression and sighed. Alright, when you use substitution, you need a log or something else to replace yourself with. The Shunshin is similar except it uses air and another material as components. We use leaves, but sand, earth, water, or almost anything else can be used. The point is the jutsus work by exchanging the matter in your body with matter in a different area. Both jutsus are also very limited in range. The substitution can only be worked within a few hundred yards. The Shunshin has a limit of a few miles. They also give off physical evidence of occurring, either a puff of smoke or a swirl of air. Okay, and how is the Hiraishin different? Hiraishin is true teleportation, it's not an exchange jutsu. So long as you have some sort of seal to lock onto, there are no limits to it. You could use it to go halfway around the world kid. It's instantaneous and it gives off no obvious sign except a yellow flash from the user at the point of origin. There is nothing at all to be seen at the arrival point. Also, once it's mastered you can use multiple teleportation to be in 100 different places at almost the same instant. That was how the Yondaime was able to defeat whole armies all by himself. Really the only limit to the Hiraishin is the requirement for a seal. Jiraiya looked over and was pleased to see that Naruto looked suitably impressed. Actually, Naruto was impressed. He could just imagine how amazing he'd be with a jutsu like that. But he knew there was still something about the two jutsus that was a bit off. In his office the Hokage greeted him with a warm smile. Hello Naruto, Jiraiya's been telling me about the fine progress you've been making in your studies. He has? Naruto said with surprise. All he keeps telling me is that I'm not as good as the Yondaime and never will be. Jiraiya snorted. A judgment I stand by kid, but even so you haven't done too bad. Just to be compared to the Yondaime is an achievement in itself Naruto. Sarutobi informed him. A mission has come up and both your sensei and I feel it would be perfect for you. A mission? Well, that's great. He looked eagerly at Jiraiya. When do we go? You and your team will be leaving tomorrow, Jiraiya informed him. But I won't be coming with you. Well, if you're not coming, who's going to be in charge? Kakashi? Sarutobi and Jiraiya both smiled at him. Naruto, Sarutobi said calmly. You will be in charge. What? You are Chunin, and the Chunin are the ones who lead most of the missions this village is required to perform. I think it high time you were given the chance to prove your leadership abilities. Slowly a smile blossomed across Naruto's face. I get to lead my very own team on a mission? That's right, Sarutobi said. Yada! Naruto screamed and then shamelessly broke into his victory dance. Jiraiya watched and grimaced. Kami, help us. Chapter 27, Team Naruto. While Jiraiya was a bit horrified, Sarutobi was amused at Naruto's antics. Before you get too excited, Naruto, Sarutobi said. Would you like to know what the mission involves? Sure. Naruto mercifully stopped dancing and took the folder the Hokage was handing him. Opening the rather thick folder, he looked inside. After a moment of reading, his excitement seemed to dissipate just a little. What is this? The mission is to go after a Chunin named Suppai? He is a former Chunin, Naruto, Sarutobi explained. He has been a missing nin for 8 years now. The mission is to try and capture a missing nin? That's right, Naruto. Not to sound ungrateful or anything. But isn't that sort of the work of hunter nins? Sarutobi nodded. Naruto, why don't you keep going through that file? The folder in his hands was unusually thick. Naruto turned back to it and began flipping through the pages. The vast majority of it seemed to be made up of mission reports. Just how many missions have been sent out after this guy? 73, Sarutobi answered with a grimace. All of them failures, and in all but a handful of them he was never even spotted. For the first few years he was a high-priority A-rank assignment which we left to the hunter nins. But due to the lack of success and due to the fact he has not committed further crimes, so far as we know, the priority given to his capture has been significantly lowered. This mission is considered a low C rank. Basically, kid, Jiraiya spoke. Suppai is a genjutsu master and former spy. He is very, very good at disappearing when he wants. Basically, we get reports from time to time that we believe might be him, and so we send a team out to investigate. But they always come back with squat, without ever spotting him, if he was ever there to begin with. A lot of our ninja believe he has to be dead, and all these missions are a complete waste. That's why we've stopped using hunter nins. It's considered a waste of their time. So how do you expect me to find him? Naruto asked. Sarutobi and Jiraiya both looked a bit embarrassed. Simply put, Naruto, we do not expect you to find him. Sarutobi said. What? Then why are you sending me on a mission if you expect me to fail? Not every mission can be successfully completed, Naruto, Sarutobi explained. There are often times when we must go on missions with little or no prospect of success. But duty still requires that we make our best effort. Naruto, think of this as one more test of your abilities. Everything that I require you to do will be a test of one sort or another. This is a test of your leadership skills. The challenge is not to successfully complete the mission, but rather to see whether or not you can lead a team to give a good and honest effort under circumstances that are less than ideal. This is your very first time as a leader, kid, Jiraiya said. Just forming your team and getting them to work together will be good enough. Also, I want to be certain that along with giving a good effort that you will not try too hard to complete the mission. Sarutobi said. Huh? Not try too hard? What are you talking about, old man? Aren't we always supposed to try our best on all our missions? You should always try your best to complete every mission, this is true. Sarutobi agreed. However, you should also be aware of what is appropriate. I expect this mission to last no more than a week. You are not to spend 6 months trying to track this man down simply because it is your mission. Also, keep in mind that while there are times when a mission must be successful at all costs, this is certainly not one of them. Except for certain very important missions, the safety of your team will always be your number one priority. A leader who accomplishes the mission but loses half his squad to do so would be considered a very poor leader. Don't worry, old man. I definitely won't lose anyone. That is very good to hear, Naruto, Sarutobi said. Because you will be the one responsible for the lives and well-being of your team. As leader, they are placed in your hands. Do you understand, Naruto? Naruto slowly nodded. I understand. Do you really? Jiraiya asked. You've taken a lot of stupid risks in the past, kid. Things that put your life in danger. But now you have to worry about more than just yourself. If you take dumb chances, you won't just put just yourself at risk, but your whole squad. Naruto frowned and crossed his arms over his chest. So, you want me to be something that I'm not? I want you to be a leader, kid, Jiraiya said. And that means thinking about your team before you think about yourself. You have already proven yourself to be a fine ninja and warrior, Naruto, Sarutobi said. But being a good leader demands even more. This is only your first opportunity. Do your best and keep what we have said in mind. I will, and I won't let you down. I'm sure you won't. Sarutobi took a pile of manila folders on his desk and handed them to Naruto. What are these? Naruto asked. Those are the personnel files of 50 ninja who are currently in the village and available for this mission. I will give you 4 hours to go over them and select any 3 you wish, Sarutobi said. I get to pick my own team? Naruto asked excitedly. In this situation, yes, Sarutobi said. On some occasions you will be allowed to select your team, on others they will be assigned to you. In that case, can I have Hinata on my team? Sarutobi shook his head. Your 3 team members must all be genin. This is a real mission, kid, Jiraiya said. Even if we don't expect you to succeed, you need to take it seriously. This isn't some romantic getaway for you and your girlfriend. I wasn't asking for her because she's my girlfriend. I was asking for her because Hinata-chan is the best. That may be, Naruto, Sarutobi said. But your sensei brings up a valid point. In selecting your team, you must keep the mission as the priority rather than selecting those you might prefer to work with. Like everything else, how you select your team is a test. I got it. He looked back down at all the folders he was holding. To save time, why don't you take those to one of the offices here in the tower? Once you have made your selections, I'll have the people brought in, Sarutobi said. Naruto sat at a desk with a dozen of the files open. He had gone through every one of them and these were the finalists. He had also taken the time to read the file on Tsupai, the target. The man was a thief, pure and simple. He used his ninja abilities to run cons and trick people out of their money. Whenever a crime fitting that profile took place, Konoha was contracted as he was considered a likely suspect. The man was an expert at disguise and deception, even being able to disguise his scent. It was no wonder he had been able to avoid capture for so long. What would be the best team for catching someone like that? He muttered to himself. Looking at the files that were open, he already knew the 3 best suited for the mission. With a heavy sigh, he picked those folders up. This is going to be really weird. Shortly before 7 p.m., teams Kakashi and Asuma were ordered to report to the tower. Team Kakashi, made up of Sasuke, Sakura, and Tayuya, as well as Team Asuma made up of Ino, Choji, and Kadamaru, waited in the Hokage's office. You have any idea what this is about? Kakashi asked. Not a clue, Asuma replied. Maybe we're finally going to get a real mission, Sasuke noted. That would sure be a refreshing change. Kakashi glanced over at Sasuke, but decided not to say anything in front of the others. Sasuke's attitude had not improved since Naruto's departure from the team. He was still obsessed with gaining power in order to avenge his family. Better hope not, Princess, Tayuya grinned. You barely managed to handle the missions we've gotten. Don't insult Sasuke-kun, Ino shouted. Ino was a bit surprised that Sakura had not also spoken up. Tayuya looked at the blonde girl with open contempt. Oh no, are you another one of his fucking fangirls? Ino stiffened, offended by the crude language and the condescending tone. What did you just say? I asked if you were one of those brainless fucking fangirls who have nothing better to do than chase after the Prince of Emovir. But never mind, the answer is pretty damn obvious. Why you? Ino was getting ready to explode when the door to the office opened. Sarutobi walked in, followed by a certain blonde in an orange jumpsuit and Chunin vest. Ah, thank you all for coming on such short notice. Sarutobi said. We are at your service, Hokage-sama. Kakashi said as he bowed. Could you tell us what this is about? Asuma asked following a slight bow. Of course, Sarutobi said. 3 of your team members are being temporarily reassigned. No. Sakura immediately interrupted. You can't break the team up again. Losing Naruto had been bad enough, as bad as things were she had finally adjusted. She didn't think she could handle any more change. Take it easy, Sakura, Kakashi reassured her. I'm sure this is just temporary. If it were permanent, I would have been informed before the rest of you. That is indeed true. Sarutobi confirmed. 3 of you are being assigned to a mission that should have a duration of no more than a week. In the meantime, the rest of you will simply remain in the village to train. But why are you splitting the team up in the first place? Sakura complained. Sakura, this is not a big deal. Kakashi said. On occasion a specific mission needs a specific skill set and certain ninja will be assigned. He lifted an eyebrow. Did you really think all the missions in your ninja career would be performed with a single team? She looked down at the floor, feeling foolish. I guess not. Don't feel bad about it, Sakura-chan. Naruto piped up. I'm still trying to figure things out too. Sakura looked up at him gratefully. Good old Naruto, always trying to make me feel better. Sasuke eyed his former teammate suspiciously. So, what are you doing here, Dobe? He grinned. Are you going to be leading us? Naruto smiled and began rubbing the back of his head. Yeah, I am. Sasuke's grin vanished. He'd been joking. The thought that the dead last could give him orders was unbelievable. No way. Ino shouted. If anyone here should lead, it should be Sasuke-kun. Ino. Asuma spoke sharply. Whatever you might prefer, Naruto is Chunin and Sasuke is not. Should you be placed under his command, I expect you to treat him with the same respect you show me. Is that clear? She looked up at her sensei in surprise. Yes, Asuma-sensei. Naruto is indeed Chunin. Sarutobi spoke quietly. That means he is entrusted by me and by this village to lead missions. If you are placed under his command, you will obey his orders and show him the respect due to a superior. Or you will suffer the consequences for insubordination and disobedience. Is that clear? The 6 genin present all nodded, some more reluctantly than others. Kakashi smiled. Congratulations on your first command, Naruto. Thanks, Kakashi-sensei. So just who gets to be on this new team? Sasuke asked. Sarutobi looked at Naruto and nodded. Naruto took a deep breath and tried to make his voice sound authoritative. You, Ino, and Tayuya. Great. Ino jumped up and pumped a fist in the air. Even if she had to follow orders from Naruto, she would still get to go on a mission with Sasuke-kun. Great, Tayuya muttered. She was less than excited at the prospect of being with the princess and another of his fangirls. Sakura looked at Naruto with a slightly hurt expression. He didn't choose me? Kakashi looked at Sasuke and was relieved to see he wasn't going to make a scene. Sasuke looked at Naruto and asked in a calm enough tone. So, what's the mission? Naruto had a huge smile on his face. Despite some of the weird reactions, he finally had his very own team. Come with me, Team Naruto, and I'll go over the mission details. Wow, Naruto, you actually sound like a chunin, Ino said. As Naruto led his 3 team members out of the office, Sasuke just mouthed the words, Team Naruto, and shook his head. Kami, help us. Chapter 28, Questions and Answers. So that's basically it. Naruto wrapped up his very first meeting as a team leader. We leave from the gates tomorrow at 8 for the city of Nagano. Any questions? Sasuke looked unimpressed. This sounds like a total waste of time. I agree with Sasuke-kun, Ino said excitedly. Tayuya coughed into her hand. Idiot fangirl says what? Ino looked at her. What? Tayuya grinned. Exactly. Sasuke headed towards the door, already certain that with Naruto, Tayuya, and Ino around this would be a long week. I'll see you tomorrow at the gates. Ino quickly followed him out the door. Sasuke-kun, do you want to walk me home? As Tayuya turned to go, she again looked Naruto over. You know, I've heard a lot about you from Sasuke and Sakura. Really? Naruto asked with interest. What did they say? That you were dead last in your academy class and that you can be a real idiot at times. Naruto hung his head. They said that? Seeing his reaction, she laughed. Yeah, they did. But Sakura also said you saved her life and that there was no one she trusted more than you. And I think that emo bastard misses seeing you, not that he would ever admit it, of course. She saw his head shoot up and decided it was time to go. See you tomorrow. Leaving the tower, Naruto was a bit surprised to see Kakashi-sensei waiting for him. Naruto, again congratulations on the mission. Thanks, Kakashi-sensei, but you didn't have to wait out here just to tell me that. Ah, about that, Kakashi rubbed the back of his head. I actually wanted to have a quick word with you about something. What is it, sensei? Well, it's about Sasuke. At the mention of that name, Kakashi could see him stiffen a bit. I should have known. Naruto shook his head in disgust. Some things just never change, do they? Now, don't be like that. I am actually very proud of you and of how far you have come. Though I'm very sorry, so little of it was my doing. But you are Chunin now and no longer under my command. Sasuke is still my student and my responsibility. Yeah, right, like you wouldn't still be playing favorites if I were still on the team. Okay, so what did you want to say? I just want you to try and take it easy on Sasuke and not try and push things too much. He has been driving himself very hard and isolating himself more and more from those around him. So? How is that different from how he's always been? The difference is that I see him heading down a path where no one else matters to him. When you were still on the team, he was forming bonds, not just with you but with Sakura as well. Since you've left, he's become more distant. I'm worried about his well-being. I just want you to not do anything to push him further down the road he seems to be on. Typical, Naruto couldn't keep the resentment from his voice. Everyone is just so worried about Sasuke and how he's doing. Naruto, he has suffered a great deal. He is not the only one. Though obviously he's the only one whose suffering matters to you. Naruto. I won't treat the team with kid gloves the way the rest of you do. Naruto answered firmly. I know he's suffered, but he's just going to have to deal with it. To be honest, I don't think it helps that everyone in this village always makes excuses for him and always gives him whatever he wants. A lot of people have suffered and learned to move on. He began walking away. Like me, for instance. Kakashi stood there and watched him go. He wondered yet again how things might have been different. Kiba. Kiba stopped and looked about. Hey! Naruto, long time no see. Hey Kiba, hey Akamaru, the small dark barked a greeting. Listen, I'm leading a mission tomorrow and I was wondering if you could help me with something. Sure, what is it? Since the mission was not classified, Naruto told Kiba all about it. Are they still trying to chase down that Senpai guy? So, you know about him? Kiba nodded. Oh sure, my mom went after him a few times and even my sister once. My mom says the guy is definitely dead and someone else has been doing these crimes. What makes your mom so sure? Well, it's simple, they keep some of his personal belongings to let us get his scent. My mom never once picked up his scent in all the time she was sent to investigate. You know, this is the reason I wanted to talk to you. When I went over his profile, it mentioned that of the first 5 missions sent out to capture him, he was spotted 4 times and nearly caught. On those missions there were Inuzukas who picked up his scent each time. Kiba nodded proudly. That's right, a lot of my clan specialize as hunter nins. It only makes sense given our tracking abilities. I was thinking about asking for an Inuzuka for my team, but I noticed that after the 5th mission his scent was never picked up again. That's why he has to be dead. If he were really still around doing all these crimes, he would have been spotted. These crimes have to be the work of copycats. Is there any way to hide a scent? Well sure, you can either cover it up or you can alter it. Well, couldn't Senpai have done one of those things then? Kiba frowned. It's not likely. To cover up a scent you have to replace it with something else that's a lot more powerful, like animal pheromones or strong-smelling plants. That can work in a forest, but it would stand out in a city. Okay then, what about the other one? Altering your scent is very hard to do. To permanently alter your scent, you have to change your physical makeup. Like how? Well, the most common way is to get a disease. Something permanent like cancer will change your scent. Suffering serious burns can also do it. Changing your organs or limbs can do it as well. My mom told me once about a ninja who lost an arm and had it replaced with a new one through a medical jutsu. That changed his scent completely. Alright then, Naruto sounded excited. Maybe that's what he did. But Kiba shook his head. That's a bit drastic, don't you think? Do you really think someone would deliberately get cancer of replace an arm just to change his scent? Naruto grinned. Maybe, especially if he was almost got caught by the hunter nins 4 times. Thanks, Kiba. Naruto disappeared in a puff of smoke. A Kage Bushin? Kiba thought in surprise. The clone scent had matched the originals perfectly, and from talking to him Kiba had thought him to be the real Naruto. Making a clone such a perfect match was no small accomplishment. Naruto had really come a long way in less than a year. I need to train harder. Having spoken to his new, if temporary team, Kakashi, and Kiba, Naruto thought he was done talking with people. That was when he spotted Sakura waiting for him patiently outside his home. Sakura-chan, what are you doing here? For some odd reason she felt a bit nervous. What am I being nervous for? It's just Naruto. There was something I wanted to ask you, but I didn't get the chance. Oh, well, all right, Sakura-chan. Do you want to come inside to talk? He gave her a wide smile. Except for Hinata-chan, you'll be the first girl to see my new home. The first except for Hinata. Sure, Naruto. Stepping inside, she got a quick look around. Wow, this is a lot better than your old apartment. It's really neat for a guy's place too. Naruto looked a little embarrassed. Well, Hinata-chan is always over, so I would never let it be messy. Right, you know, Naruto, the whole village is talking about the two of you. They are? He said in surprise. Well, of course they are. I mean, you're dating the heiress of the Hyuga clan, how could people not notice? And it's such a romantic story, you risking your whole future just to be with her. She looked at him with a bit of concern. Have you made any progress with the Hiraishin? The village knows about that? He was relieved to see her shake her head. No, the story the village believes is that you went to dinner at the Hyuga mansion with the Hokage and Jiraiya and were somehow able to convince Hiashi to allow you two to date.
Then how do you know what really happened? Sakura smiled. Tenten told me. Great, he muttered. The village does know all about how you convinced Tsunade to take on Hinata as an apprentice. Is it true you turned down the Shodai's necklace for Hinata's sake? Naruto nodded.
It sure is. I owed Hinata-chan a birthday present and getting Bachan to teach her seemed like a good one.
Sakura looked at him in mild wonder. Naruto, just when did you become so romantic?
He looked at her in complete confusion.
Romantic? Me? Are you talking about me bringing Hinata-chan flowers on our first date?
That's about as romantic as I've managed. She shook her head. Naruto, you faced down Hyuga Hiashi and offered to risk your freedom to be with the girl you care for. You gave up necklace worth millions to instead do something for your girlfriend.
Do you have any idea how romantic all that is? If Sasuke had ever. She stopped. Sasuke would never do anything like that.
It would never even occur to him to make someone else his priority. All that matters to him is gaining power. She knew that was true, but it was still very hard to give up on a dream.
Naruto felt a bit awkward in the sudden silence. Ah, so Sakura-chan, what did you want to talk about? Naruto, why didn't you choose me for your team? She looked away. Do you not like me anymore?
On impulse he reached out and took a hold of her hands.
Of course, I still like you, Sakura-chan.
You are the very first girl I ever had feelings for and one of the first people to acknowledge me.
To me, Sakura-chan, you will always be a friend and a very precious person. She looked back at those amazing blue eyes.
She could see the warmth and the sincerity in them. His hands are so warm. Without realizing it, she began to blush a little and her heartbeat sped up.
Then why didn't you pick me, Naruto-kun?
He smiled, really trying to reassure her.
It's not because I don't like you, Sakura-chan.
It's just that I had to make the best team possible for my mission.
We're chasing after a genjutsu expert who was very good at hiding.
I picked Sasuke because with his Sharingan he can see through genjutsu. I picked Tayuya because she is a genjutsu expert and should be a big help facing another genjutsu expert. And I picked Ino because with her abilities she's a natural at gathering information. I may need her mind jutsus to learn important information from witnesses or accomplices.
I see, she said slowly. Well, I admit that makes sense.
She didn't mention that she was learning genjutsu. Tayuya was teaching her and knew far more than she did. She gave Naruto a warm smile. You know, Naruto, Ino was right, you really are starting to sound like a chunin. She slowly pulled her hands out of his.
Thanks for explaining it to me, now I think I should get going. You don't have to leave right now, Sakura-chan. It's been a while since we've talked. Why don't you stay and we can just hang out? I'd really like that, Naruto-kun, but I do need to go. She quickly left. Why was that so weird? Sakura wondered.
As she walked away, she looked back in the direction of Naruto's home.
Hinata is really lucky.
Even if he is kind of dumb at times, Naruto really is a great boyfriend.
Cha!
Inner Sakura spoke up. And he could have been all ours. All you ever had to do was say yes to just one of his requests for a date.
He would have so totally fallen in love with us. I know. But it's too late now. She thought sadly. She'd have laughed if only the joke wasn't on her. She finally realized that Naruto was special to her only now that it was too late.
Team Naruto assembled at the gate where the Hokage made a point of seeing them off. Remember, all of you, that Naruto is your captain and that you are to treat him as such. The Hokage turned to Naruto.
Remember, Naruto, whatever the results, I want you and your team back here within 7 days. Understood? I got it, old man, I won't let you down," Naruto answered. He turned to his team. "Alright, let's go." In a tight orderly formation, they left the village. About a mile outside the village. "Sasuke-kun, since we're going to a city on the ocean, I brought my swimsuit. Maybe we can go swimming together?" HN. This isn't a vacation, you idiot fangirl. Who are you calling an idiot? Who do you think? As Naruto listened to the two girls begin to bicker, he sighed. This was definitely going to be a challenge. Chapter 29, What They Have in Common. They had traveled for 2 days. Naruto had called a halt late on the evening of the second day so they could set up camp. They would arrive in Nagano early the next morning and get to work. With tents up and campfire going, Naruto had gobbled down his food and quickly excused himself. As Ino slowly nibbled a rice ball, she looked at the way Tayuya was wolfing down her food. "You eat like a boy." Tayuya gave her an annoyed look. "Excuse me for being hungry." Ino smiled. "It's alright, I actually admire your courage. It's really brave of you not to care about your figure." Tayuya snarled. A kunoichi cares more about being strong and healthy than about how she looks to a guy who couldn't care less anyway. "Speaking of looks, there's something I want to give you." Reaching into a pouch, she pulled out an item. This is called a hairbrush. I doubt you've seen one before. You might want to try it on that mop you call a head of hair. Ino tossed the brush over to her. "Gee, thanks, I have something for you too." She reached into her weapons pouch. This is called a kunai, that's ku-nai. You have probably never seen one of these, it's a weapon used by ninja and not for dainty little pretty girls like you. With a flick of her wrist, she sent it straight into the ground between Ino's feet. You should try using it holding the sharp end. Sasuke stood. Where are you going, Sasuke-kun? Ino asked anxiously. I never thought I'd say this, but I think I'd rather hang out with the dobe. With that he slouched away. Ino looked angrily at Tayuya. Great. You made him leave. No need to thank me. Sasuke found Naruto and 4 of his clones in a small clearing about a couple 100 yards away. They each had a different section of the file and were reading it. Well, here's something I never thought I'd see. The dead last of the academy actually studying something. All 5 Narutos looked up as Sasuke entered the clearing and sat down on a log, uninvited. What do you want, team? The original asked him. Sasuke shrugged. I was just trying to get away from the girls. Naruto nodded wearily. Yeah. So, since when are you an actual student? I can't remember even one class where you didn't end up falling asleep. Hey, I fell asleep because those lectures were boring and I never cared. And except for Irika-sensei, all my teachers were jerks who didn't deserve my attention anyway. When I actually want to learn something, I don't have any trouble concentrating. Sasuke smirked. Yeah, right. Naruto immediately felt annoyed and angry at Sasuke's simple dismissal of him. Hey, I'm the guy who learned the Kagebushin in just a few hours, the Blades of Wind in 1 night, and the Yandame's Rasengan in 3 months. Ebisu even said I was the best student he ever had. So what? Sasuke said coolly. He probably says that to all his students to make them feel good. Sasuke felt just a bit annoyed at Naruto's bragging, even if his list of accomplishments sounded pretty impressive. What do I care? It's just Naruto. If I had Jiraiya and Ebisu teaching me, I'd have learned even more. I didn't have anyone helping me with the Kagebushin. Do you think you could learn it in just a few hours? If you did it then I could, there's no way you could ever outmatch me. Naruto scowled. Because you're an Uchiha, right? Sasuke nodded. That's right, my heritage and my blood make me special. I don't believe that, it's what you do that counts, not whose blood you have. If you believe that, you really are a baka. Seeing Naruto about to explode, Sasuke held up his hands.
Look, I didn't come here to argue with you. I was trying to get away from arguments for a while.
He nodded towards the file.
So, what have you figured out so far? Though he still wanted to yell at the arrogant team, Naruto decided to instead answer his question.
Suppai was a chunin who specialized in genjutsu with no special talent in taijutsu or ninjutsu.
He specialized in information gathering and was highly respected in his field. At the time of his defection, he was being considered for the Jonin exam. He stands 5'10", brown eyes, black hair, described as handsome with a warm smile. His personality is described as charming. From all accounts, he had a real gift for getting people to like him. He was 25 at the time he went rogue, which would make him 33 now. He has no surviving family, no close friends, and no known associates, a real loner. Despite his success as a spy, he likes attention.
And that's everything I know about our target. Sasuke nodded. Pretty thorough for someone we're never going to meet. Wrong team, we're going to find this guy and bring him in.
Naruto, Sasuke sounded exasperated. Suppai is probably long dead, or if he's not, he's hiding in some hole in the wall a long way from here.
Whoever's committing these crimes, it's definitely not him. What makes you so sure about that?
Sasuke shrugged.
Don't you think if it were still him, one of the other teams would have noticed? I mean, even the hunter Nins have given up on finding him. What does that tell you?
That they gave up too easy, Naruto said firmly. Going over the file, it's obvious they figured it had to be someone else because they stopped finding his scent.
But I talked to Kiba and he says it's possible to change your scent. That means he is the one behind all this and that we will catch him. And you base all that on a conversation with Kiba?
I base it on the fact that this guy was good at what he did, and whoever has been doing all these other crimes has been good enough to get away with it without ever being spotted. Talent like that is hard to come by, so I don't believe a copycat could have done all this. If it were a copycat, he wouldn't have been as talented and would have gotten caught by now.
That means it has to be the real Suppai. Sasuke smirked. This is all just wishful thinking. The Hokage doesn't expect us to actually find anything. That's why he made such a big deal about the time limit.
All this is a chance for you to get some experience leading a team. Whether he expects us to or not, this is a real mission and I plan on succeeding.
Sasuke stood up. Whatever, I'm going to try and get some sleep.
He left the clearing, careful not to let Naruto see his smile.
Nagano was a large modern city on Fire Country's eastern coast. Its wealth came from trade and the fishing industry.
It was a large sprawling city with modern skyscrapers and a crowded skyline. At the very sight of it, Ino's eyes lit up and thoughts of shopping malls and gourmet restaurants filled her head.
First I want to go shopping, Ino exclaimed.
Then I want to find some place that serves Western-style food.
Then I want to go to the beach.
She looked over at Sasuke and batted her eyelashes.
Do you want to join me, Sasuke-kun? Ino, Naruto said. This isn't a getaway, it's a mission. Ino smiled back.
Oh, I know that, but how long could it take?
Several hours later. Ino was tapping her foot angrily and glaring at her partner. How long is this supposed to take? She ground out. Here we are in this beautiful city and we've spent the whole day interviewing people.
Tayuya looked at her without the slightest sympathy.
This is the whole reason we're down here, remember?
I thought we came here to investigate one crime.
How were there so many? And more importantly, why am I stuck interviewing witnesses with you instead of with Sasuke-kun?
I have no idea why there were so many crimes. As for that last part, I think Sasuke threatening to give Naruto 1,000 years of death with Chidori, whatever the hell that is, had something to do with it.
Ha! Sasuke-kun was obviously joking when he said he didn't want to be partnered with me.
Only a total baka like Naruto would fail to see that.
I know that deep down Sasuke-kun is just desperate to spend time alone with me. Tayuya just looked at her for a second. What color is the sky in your world?
In a dingy little office in police headquarters, Sasuke and 5 Narutos sat around a small table going over a pile of police reports. Sasuke closed the file he was looking at and rubbed his weary.
It's now official. This is the worst mission ever. All the Narutos grinned. Even worse than chasing that damn cat? The original said. We never had to spend 6 hours chasing Tora.
He finished rubbing his eyes and looked at the blonde.
What the hell are we doing here, Naruto? We're doing our mission.
We're investigating all the cases that might be connected to Tsunade.
Sasuke shook his head.
We were called down here to investigate one crime.
Why are we going through all these police reports, and why are the girls interviewing all the victims and witnesses?
Just because we were called in about one crime doesn't mean that others didn't take place. All these reports are crimes that might have involved genjutsu or even just henge. They were reported to the local police, who didn't seem to want to call in help from the village.
Naruto pulled out a particular file.
The only reason this one got sent to the Hokage was that the guy insisted on it.
Sasuke smirked. Well, if you got conned out of 5 million Ryu, you would too.
Yeah, but there have been a bunch of smaller crimes that fit Tsunade's profile.
He looked at all the files in front of him and his clones.
There have been 23 crimes in the past 10 weeks that fit the profile. The amounts stolen ranging from a few thousand Ryu to a couple 100,000. All of the thefts were non-violent, with the victims being tricked into handing their money over to the thief. If we can find a connection between all these crimes, maybe it will point the way to Tsunade.
You really think we're going to find this guy, don't you?
Yeah, I do.
That evening the team reassembled at a restaurant near police headquarters to have dinner and go over their findings.
So, what did you find out?
Naruto asked eagerly. That people don't like having their minds read. Ino announced.
Huh?
Naruto replied. Ino let out an annoyed sigh.
Since we weren't dealing with prisoners, I had to get permission to use my jutsus to read people's memories.
Most people didn't like that, and only a few of them agreed.
But you did get to read some of their minds, right?
Naruto asked.
What did you find out?
Not much, Ino admitted.
The images I saw of the con man were all different, even the voices.
That wouldn't be surprising if we really are dealing with a genjutsu expert.
Tayuya said.
Ino sent her an annoyed look, but continued. The circumstances were different too.
One time the guy saw his wife telling him their son had been arrested and that she needed money to pay his bail. Another time a man was convinced he was being haunted and paid off an exorcist. All the situations were different.
Did the con man seem to know the victims pretty well?
Sasuke asked. He seemed to Sasuke-kun, Ino said.
Do the victims have anything in common? Naruto asked. Ino looked embarrassed and her cheeks darkened. No, not really.
Are you sure?
Naruto asked.
Well.
Sasuke looked at her.
Ino, if there's something, tell us. Looking very uncomfortable, she glanced down and muttered something.
I'm sorry, I didn't catch that. Naruto said. Ino took a deep breath.
They all went to the same, place for, entertainment.
What sort of entertainment? Sasuke asked. The nudie kind.
Oh, Naruto said matter-of-factly.
So, they all went to the same strip club? 3 sets of eyes all locked in on him. What?
Naruto, Ino said, shocked.
Have you ever been in one of those places? Sure, when I was traveling with Arrow Sennin. Flashback.
For Naruto's picked up an unconscious Jiraiya to begin hauling him back to their hotel. This was not the first time, it was not even the 5th or 6th. He had actually gotten pretty used to the sight of barely dressed women. So, the fact he was surrounded by 5 women in nothing but lingerie and high heels had little effect on him. Thanks again for letting me take my sensei back to the hotel. No problem, sweetie, a particularly busty blonde in fishnet answered.
Tell him to come back anytime. And you come back too when you're a little older.
Okay, he answered politely as he hauled Jiraiya away. The 3 of them were still staring at him.
Ino in horror, Sasuke in mild admiration hidden beneath feigned disinterest, and Tayuya in amusement. So does Hinata know about this? Ino asked.
No, Naruto said.
Why? Do you think I should mention it to her?
No.
All 3 of them shouted at once. Naruto shook his head. Whatever, anyway, thanks Ino.
Now we have a lead, let's finish up with dinner so we can go investigate.
Investigate? Naruto, you don't mean. Naruto simply nodded. Let's go investigate the strip club. Sasuke smirked.
You know, Dobe, this mission has actually gotten more interesting.
Tayuya grinned at him. Now you do realize that this place has female strippers, right? Chapter 30, A Direct Order. No, I won't do it. Ino shouted furiously.
Naruto tried to answer, but she gave him no chance to.
I can't believe you would even ask me to do this. And I actually used to think you were a really nice guy. What are you talking about? I am a nice guy. No, you're not.
You're a pervert like that Jiraiya you follow everywhere.
Naruto looked offended. I'm no pervert like Hiraishin. What I'm asking you to do is for the sake of the mission.
That's a lie, you just want to see me in my underwear.
Ino looked at a laughing Tayuya. What the hell do you think's so funny?
Oh, I just think you should be happy that we finally found a ninja mission you're actually suited for.
And why are you only asking me to do this? What about her? Ino snapped, glaring at Naruto.
I think it would be less suspicious if it were just you.
An hour after you go in, Sasuke, and I will go too.
Tayuya will stay outside and act as our backup if we should need her.
We'll let her do this and I'll be the backup. Naruto shook his head.
Ino, you're better at gathering information, that's the reason I asked for you in the first place.
I still don't care. There's nothing you could possibly say to me that would get me to do this. Sasuke looked at her with a small grin.
That's too bad, I would much rather look at you in there.
Ino looked at him and her face darkened a shade or two. Really, Sasuke-kun? He gave a slight nod. Well, I guess it is for the mission, I'll do it. Tayuya shook her head in disgust.
She took out her purse and pulled out 100 Ryu note.
Here, she handed the note to Ino. Buy yourself some shame. Ino went in with no more complaints. An hour later, Naruto and Sasuke were in an alleyway across from the club. You know, Sasuke said.
RI.D.S say we're 13.
Don't worry about it, Naruto said. As long as we look old enough and have the cover charge, they won't bother to check. Sasuke smirked at him.
Geez, Dobe, it sounds like you're an old hand at this.
Naruto just shrugged. You travel with Hiraishin and you learn a few things. Let's go ahead and get started.
They both performed the henge. When the smoke cleared, the boys looked like older teenage versions of themselves.
Sasuke was still dressed in the same style with a dark blue Uchiha jacket, dark shirt, and light khaki pants. Naruto meanwhile completely altered his clothing.
The familiar orange jumpsuit and treasured Chunin vest were gone. The older version of himself had on a black leather jacket, light blue button-down shirt, and dark pants.
Both of them still had on their Hittites.
That had been a deliberate decision on Naruto's part. A couple leaf nines going into a strip club was nothing out of the ordinary. Naruto was also hoping that the sight of them might draw a nervous reaction from Senpai or maybe an associate of his.
Hey Dobe, anyone ever tell you that you look a lot like the Yondaime? I do. Thanks, team.
Why do you still have your scars though?
Naruto shrugged.
I don't know, I guess I just don't like hiding who I am even when I have a disguise. The club looked dirty and somewhat seedy from the outside. The words, Pink Pony, were written above a pair of rusty nondescript metal doors. On either side was a placard reading, Girls, Girls, Girls. Stepping inside, they found an older, somewhat plain woman standing by a cash register before another set of iron double doors. She flashed them a weary smile. Welcome to the Pink Pony.
There is 100 Ryu cover and a 1 drink minimum. Tableside dances are 200 Ryu each.
We have private rooms in the back that are 1,000 Ryu for a half hour. That covers the room only, you must negotiate with the girl separately for services. We encourage you to tip the dancers on stage. She collected their money and nodded toward the door.
Enjoy yourselves.
Going through the second set of doors, Naruto was assaulted by a familiar odor. It was a mix of cigar smoke, alcohol, and cheap perfume. Music thrummed down from some overhead speakers. On a small stage, a topless girl seemed to wrap herself around a pole as men cheered and held up folded notes. The lights were dim and the place was crowded with desperate middle-aged men and the young girls who were here to make them happy. Most of the floor was taken up by small tables with simple wooden chairs. Huge padded sofas lined the walls. On a couple of them, smiling men leaned back while women ground against them. Nice place, Sasuke said dismissively as the two of them sat down at an open table.
I've seen worse. Sasuke glanced at him. You know, I really want to hear more about that trip with Jiraiya sometime. I bet you're really enjoying all this, huh?
Naruto glanced about at all the people surrounding them.
Not really.
The truth was, he really didn't enjoy being in places like this. Partially, that was because he had Jiraiya as an example of what he did not want to become. Partially it was because he was still only 13 and just not quite as fascinated with boobies and the female figure as he would be in just another year or two.
But mostly it was because of the masks. He knew all about putting on a mask to hide the truth.
For Naruto, the women in places like this were as fake as a piece of plastic. They smiled and laughed and pretended to care, while all the while thinking about how much money they could make. The men they talked to weren't really men to them. They were just purses with legs. Jiraiya had understood and had it explain things to him very clearly.
Erosenin wasn't bothered by it since he was just interested in having fun and didn't mind paying for it.
But to Naruto, this phony affection seemed almost too ugly to bear. Being in a place like this only reminded him just how much he missed being with Hinata-chan. In his eyes, she was 100 times more beautiful than any woman here. When she smiled at him, it was because she liked him. When she listened to him, it was because she cared. He knew her feelings for him were real. That was why he loved her.
Hey cutie, want some company? With that, a teenage blonde dropped herself into Sasuke's lap.
She had on nothing but a matching set of purple bra and panties. Ino was rather pleased to see a light blush darken the boy's features, even if her current form was as imaginary as his.
My name is Lola, what's yours?
Sasuke looked about to make sure no one was close enough to overhear.
I guess you got over your shyness, huh, Ino?
She frowned at him.
I've already made about 1,000 Ryu just in tips.
I won't give any of these old guys any dances though, and you wouldn't believe what some of them have asked me to do.
So, you didn't have any trouble getting in?
Naruto asked quietly.
Ino shook her head.
As soon as I said I wanted to try out, they pointed me to the dressing room. The girls here are actually pretty nice. It's not as bad as I thought, even if some of the guys are pretty creepy.
Sasuke smirked.
Well, if you ever need a second job. I'll pass, and by the way, she gently tipped his chin up a bit.
I'm up here.
Ino was again pleased to see Sasuke a little uncomfortable.
So Ino, Naruto asked. Which one is the manager?
She frowned and pointed to a big fat bald man in his 60s who was sitting by the bar.
That's him.
Sasuke, take a quick look.
Naruto said. Nodding, Sasuke shut his eyes. When he opened them, they were red. He looked over at the bar and then quickly looked all around the club. He then shut his eyes again before anyone could notice them. Sorry Naruto, no henges, no genjutsus, no one using chakra that I can see. Great, Naruto muttered. He'd actually been hoping that the manager might just be Tsunade in disguise. But if he wasn't using a henge that was out, the manager had to be at least 6 inches too tall. I should have known it wouldn't be that easy. Ino, have you noticed anything unusual about anyone else here? Ino snuggled a bit closer to Sasuke as she shook her head. I've only talked to some of the other dancers, but none of them seem strange. I've only been here an hour though. Naruto nodded, a bit depressed but nowhere near ready to give up. They had 2 more days to investigate before they would have to head back. Maybe they could still find the lead they needed. He looked out over the crowd trying to find something, anything, that might be suspicious. The men in the place were all focused on the girls. The girls who were not currently with someone all smiled when they saw his eyes pass over them. Then he spotted one dancer standing near the stage. Their eyes met, just for a moment, and the look on her face was not a false and friendly. It was a look he'd seen many times before back in the village. The look was suddenly swallowed up by an overeager grin. Naruto waved to her and pointed to an open seat. But the girl shook her head and quickly ducked towards a door near the stage. Ino, who is that? Ino turned away from Sasuke just in time to see who Naruto was pointing towards. That's Kamiko. She's a little bit older than most of the girls here, but she's really friendly. Everyone likes her. Ino, I want you stay with her. Naruto stood up. Okay team, it's time for us to go. Go? We just got here. Stay if you want then. Naruto quickly headed towards the exit. Sasuke let out an actual sigh of regret as he pulled Ino off of him and followed after Naruto. Outside the club's back entrance, a woman in a simple black dress and large purse left quickly. She was about 5'10" with brown eyes and long black hair in a ponytail. Her face was pretty though not truly beautiful, her body was slim and lithe. A few seconds later the door opened again and a blonde girl in a purple dress came out as well. Kamiko, where are you going? The woman looked back, annoyed and hostile. I told you Lola, I feel sick, now stop following me. She only took a couple more steps when 3 figures jumped down from the rooftops. They all wore leaf Hittites so were obviously ninja. She recognized the 2 men from the club, there was a young red-headed girl there as well. Along with Lola they had her surrounded. Excuse me, but I'd like to have a talk with you. The blonde ninja said. His tone was serious and his look anything but amused. Kamiko gave him a friendly shake of the head. I'm sorry, but I'm feeling sick and I'm going home. If you come back tomorrow night, I'll be happy to talk to you then. I'm afraid this can't wait. You know there are laws against stalking helpless women in this city. I'm not here to stalk you, I am here investigating crimes committed by a missing nin named Tsunade. So, what does that have to do with me? We think Tsunade has been using this club to scout out potential victims for his crimes. And since you're from Konoha, I was wondering if there might be a connection. Konoha? The hidden village? She laughed and again shook her head. I've never been there. Yes, you have, Naruto said flatly. My name is Uzumaki Naruto, but you already know that, don't you? I saw the ugly look you were giving me, it's a look I've seen a whole lot. You obviously recognize me, or at least you recognize these. He touched the scars on his cheeks. She gave him a cold smile and tightened her grip on her purse. You're mistaken. No, I'm not, Naruto said. I'm an expert on those looks, you were definitely in Konoha. You know something about Tsunade, don't you? Are you working for him? Are you his partner? I don't know what you're talking about. We'll see,
The Hokage has given me the authority to place people under arrest in the pursuit of my mission. You're coming with us to police headquarters to be interrogated, either voluntarily or not, it's your choice.
My choice, she said in a friendly voice, is not to go at all.
And in a single swift motion she pulled out a handful of smoke pellets from her purse and threw them down to the street.
In an instant the area was filled with smoke.
When it cleared she was gone. She was flying over the rooftops, moving as fast as she possibly could. She had always known this day might come. But she'd never once thought the Kyuubi would be the one to find her. She had to get back to her apartment and get the money, then she would get taught edox and get the hell out of Nagano. Then she would lay low for at least a year. I got too arrogant, I'll leave Fire Country for good this time. And I'll only run small cons from now on, no more taking stupid chances. She was thinking about where the best hiding place might be when a huge monster with bandages over its eyes landed right in front of her.
What the hell?
She shouted and quickly dodged away in a different direction.
She thought she could hear some kind of music in the distance. 2 other huge monsters appeared as well.
She was fast enough to avoid them, but they began hurting her in a particular direction.
Give it up!
She heard from 100 shouts. She landed on a rooftop surrounded by clones. These looked much younger and were dressed in orange and in shunin vests. She also spotted the other boy, he also looked a lot younger.
Just give up. You can't hope to get away. The clones called out.
She carefully looked around, she was completely surrounded.
Well, I guess you've got me, but I refuse to be taken alive. She tore open her dress to reveal explosive notes underneath. Before anyone could say anything more, an explosion filled the night. The original Naruto stared at the smoking hole that was all that was left.
I can't believe she killed herself.
Sasuke activated his Sharingan. Naruto Yubaka, it's a genjutsu. Looking out he spotted her trail and leapt away without bothering to say anything. Sasuke! Where are you going?
Naruto called out and went after him, but not quickly enough. He temporarily lost sight of him. She knew she had little time, but there was no way she was leaving without the money. She crashed through her apartment's front door and raced to her bedroom. She reached into what looked like a solid wall and pulled out a small leather case stuffed with over 5 million ryu.
Now she could get the hell out. All right, it's over now. She turned around to see the dark-haired boy standing at her bedroom door with a kunai in hand.
She did not fail to note that his eyes were red.
Oh my, she said.
The Sharingan, you must be Uchiha Sasuke, the last survivor of your clan. Sasuke nodded, so far as he was concerned, he was the last member of his clan.
If you know who I am, then you must know that genjutsus are worthless against me. She nodded sadly and lifted her hands over her head. I guess it's over then. Sasuke was surprised at the meek surrender.
He had managed to leave the others behind and was temporarily on his own. But he was sure that even if she did try to fight, he could handle her. He carefully entered the bedroom, never noticing the tripwire that had been placed in the doorway a foot above the floor. Despite his Uchiha blood, he still tripped and fell right in front of her. As Kamiko brought her fist down onto the back of his head, she was glad to see that one of the many little traps she had set actually worked. Damn that team, Naruto shouted as he and his clones raced along the rooftops. Beside him Tayuya was playing her flute and guiding her 3 doki. I'm the one who is supposed to do stupid things, not him.
Tayuya spotted something and pointed.
When Naruto saw what it was, he grimaced.
Ah fuck.
Tayuya looked over and nodded, she couldn't comment as she needed to continue playing her flute.
I like this guy.
Tayuya, her doki, Naruto, and his clones landed all along the edge of the roof surrounding their target.
In the center of the roof Kamiko stood in the middle of the roof still wearing a now somewhat torn black dress.
Along with the dress was a briefcase tied to her back and weapons pouches around her hips.
And standing in front of her bound in ropes was Uchiha Sasuke.
She held a knife to his throat and for added measure had placed several explosive notes on him beneath his ropes. Just so we're clear, Kamiko called out.
Unlike last time, these notes aren't an illusion. If you try anything at all, I'll kill him. I'll kill the last Uchiha.
Let's calm down, Naruto spoke carefully and waited.
You have to know there's no way I can let you go.
Oh, but I think you will, Kamiko smiled. After all, I'm just a thief. I'm sure capturing me isn't worth the life of your precious Uchiha. You're a ninja, Naruto called out.
You must know every ninja is prepared to die in the line of duty.
Oh, but this is very different.
This isn't some faceless genin we're talking about here.
This is the last Uchiha. I kill him and the clan is gone forever.
Now do you really think the Hokage will be happy if you take me out at that cost?
If I let you go, you'll just kill him later.
She shook her head. No, I won't. You see, I want to live. And I damn well know that if I kill the little bastard, they'll never ever let me go. So, here's what's going to happen. I'm going to leave with my hostage and you're not going to chase me. When I feel I'm safe, I'll knock him out and let him go. Nice and simple.
Sasuke was conscious, his arms were tied to his chest and his legs were tied, but his mouth was not gagged.
Dobe, what the hell are you waiting for? Kill her. Shut up. Kamiko pressed the kunai harder and a small trickle of blood ran down his throat. Don't think I won't kill you if I have to.
Team, shut up, no one is going to die here.
Naruto said. Best listen to your friend. Kamiko warned. Sasuke frowned but said nothing else.
Naruto knew he needed just a little more time.
You're Suppai, aren't you?
You had a sex change operation, and that's why the hunter Nins couldn't find your scent anymore.
Kamiko grinned.
Very good, I give you credit for figuring it out. You should really take pride in finding me. I suppose I'll have to have another operation.
She laughed. Tell me something, was it because of your own secret that you were able to guess mine?
I mean, you must be an expert in hiding what you really are, so maybe that gave you a special insight into my situation.
Despite the circumstances, both Sasuke and Tayuya looked at him in confusion. Seeing the looks, Kamiko nodded. They don't know, do they? Not willing to trust your own comrades in arms?
I haven't broken the law, Naruto said carefully.
That law doesn't apply to you, she laughed. Or to me either.
If you break the Sandame's law in front of them, I'll kill you, Naruto said quietly.
Even if I have to track you down myself. That's a promise. Kamiko could feel his killer intent and see the way he was looking at her. You know what? I believe you.
From a rooftop located directly behind Kamiko, Ino at last arrived.
Take her out right now, one of the clones told her. Before she moves. But what if?
Ino, the clone, cut her off sharply.
That's a direct order. Take her out now. Right, she ran through the hand signs. Shintenshin no Jutsu.
As the consciousness left her body, the clone caught her before she could fall. Naruto timed it perfectly. He saw Ino arrive and cast her jutsu. At the instant Kamiko began to stiffen, he forced chakra into his arms and legs to get to her in less than a second. He grabbed her wrist and yanked the kunai away from Sasuke's throat. In the next instant it was all over as Kamiko smiled at him. Mind-body transfer successful. Naruto quickly cut Sasuke loose.
You okay, team? I'm fine, Dobe. Sasuke answered sullenly.
With everyone safe and the bad guy, girl, whatever caught, he let out a sigh of relief.
It was over. That's it for this reading.
Hit like and subscribe for a free ticket pass going to the different worlds of anime fanfiction.
Looking forward to having you on board again.